welcome to Getting Personal with Plant Medicine. I'm your host, Diana Krach, and today I am joined by my lovely husband and partner in this podcast. Even though you're not my official co-host in this, you are the editor and producer, JR. How are you doing today, JR?
Doing fantastic. Excited to be here on this Getting Personal Jams.
Yes, this is our first episode in a professional studio. So we will be doing more with video, and I hope that you enjoy it. So the reason why you joined me today is because we're talking about a plant that you know a lot about.
That I love.
I think you might know the most about this than anybody that I've ever met. I don't know.
This was the plant that got me into plant medicine, and it's been easily probably my favorite of the plant medicines. Is the one that I use most consistently and found great benefit with, and that is Kava.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kava. We did a lot of build up there.
A lot of build up just to say Kava.
I know, because honestly, I feel like Kava gets overlooked a lot. I mean, it has been an unsung hero for many years.
Well, it still hasn't really traveled throughout the continental U.S. very much. It started off generally coming from the South Pacific Islands into Florida is where we really started seeing it kind of flourish in the continental U.S. and outside of the South Pacific Islands, Fiji, Vanuatu, Solomon Islands, even Hawaii. It wasn't until it really came to Florida where it started really kind of growing out.
Which is where we found it.
Which is where we found it.
Not to cut you off.
When we were living in Florida. No.
But that's how we came across this. I mean, I'm seeing, we're in Maryland now, and excitingly, there is a Kava bar on the horizon.
Yes.
In Baltimore.
Very
which
excited
we're excited about. But right now, there really isn't anything around here that we know that's just starting to make its way.
It's starting to make its way. So basically it went into Florida, and then it kind of traveled into kind of the southern states a little bit, Texas. It started moving a little bit north into like Colorado, even Washington State, over into New York, kind of hitting like larger hubs. Maryland, not really having a super large hub, was very easily ignored until recently. So been pretty much kind of set with just kind of making it at home myself.
Which is not anywhere near how we first came across this plant, because our first experience was at a Kava bar, and what really drew us in was that it was a very communal thing. Like, everybody would do this whole, they had a happy hour, they had times that we'd do a special toast or whatever.
Yeah, it was designed to be a social thing. In the islands, they drank it socially. They didn't just drink it on their own. They've been using this for generations for spiritual ceremonies. With it comes a lot of health benefits. I can't say anti because that goes against the Shea. But let's just say that it promotes more of a positive mentality and gives a very nice body relaxation, almost as if you're in a hot tub. But the signature thing about it is it doesn't mess with your cognitive features. So it's not like alcohol where after you drink it for a long period of time, you start getting sloshed and you don't know what you're saying. You maintain full focal clarity the entire time that you're consuming Kava. So it gives you that body relaxation, can make you a little bit more sociable because it eliminates a lot of those anxieties and depressions inside your mind. So it allows you to be more sociable. So a lot of people, especially in South Florida, use it as a place where they can kind of group together, because a lot of people were in some kind of program that eliminated their, essentially like alcohol, where they got accustomed to going to bars and socializing, and that was their social outlet. When they would stop drinking the alcohol because they realized how bad it was for them, they really didn't have an outlet or a place to go to. And the Kava bars kind of delivered that to them. It gave them a place where they could consume something, get a relaxation, non-addictive properties, and still have that social setting where they can talk and have fun. Just to touch on what I said about about that real quick, about the non-addictive properties, one of the coolest things about Kava is it actually works off of reverse tolerance. So the longer you drink it, the less and less and less you actually need through time to get that sensation that you're feeling. So when you first start drinking it at first, you need to drink a large quantity of it. And that gets your body accustomed to releasing what is called kava lactones. The kava lactones is what gives you that sensation of relaxation, calm, you know, just feeling good. As time goes on, you drink less and less and less and less. And what happens is you drink a little bit and your brain says, oh, I know what we're supposed to do when we drink this, and starts releasing those same amount of kava lactones. So you start off by drinking a large amount, and as time goes on, you start drinking less and less and less and less. The problem that comes with that, especially for businesses, especially new bars, is A, it doesn't really taste amazing.
No.
And you
Not
have
at all.
no. It tastes very earthy. It tastes like dirt. Literally it's a root that's ground up and then soaked in water and strained. And then you have to convince somebody to drink a large amount of it, and then promise and then get them to trust you that as time goes on they'll need to drink less. It's a hard sell coming from a stranger. So one thing you really have to look out for, especially if you're not making it yourself, is ensuring that you are getting just kava when you're going to a kava bar, because what a lot of companies started doing is they realized that they could put things in it that would give more of an immediate feel, but also have a regular tolerance build up. So that they were putting that into their kava so that people could drink a little bit of kava, feel something, and think, oh, this is amazing, I'm going to keep coming back, not realizing that they weren't just drinking straight kava. They were drinking kava with something else added into it, which was building their tolerance up, and they weren't actually ever getting the full benefit of the kava, because a lot of times they would put something in it that was much more stimulating, which added to that social appeal. So they were never actually really feeling that relaxed, calm peace of mind of the kava. So in their perception, kava is something that's more upbeat and more sociable. So if you're going to a kava bar for your first time, make sure that what you're consuming is just kava. I'm sure other kava bars will have the option to add things into it if that's what you want, but you want to make sure that you know exactly what you're consuming and drinking before you actually drink it.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. So, what should someone feel the first time? Because I know it was intense the first time I took it, but I felt instantly relaxed.
Yes.
But I also felt a little bit of a head rush. Felt a little nauseous.
That can happen, and that's because it's actually a topical analgesic. So what happens when you first drink kava and you drink an actual proper amount, that large amount, to get your body accustomed to it? One of the first things you'll notice is your mouth feels a little bit numb because it is a topical analgesic.
Oh, right, the numb thing. I forgot about that.
But what that can do is it can actually also numb the stomach lining when you drink it down, which gives you that feeling that you're nauseous because your stomach lining is numb. So that doesn't happen with everybody, but it can happen, and it is normal. You don't want to keep drinking it if you have that feeling until it subsides, and that's a feeling that you won't get every time. It's basically your body getting used to the sensation that kava is delivering. After that, you will start kind of feeling just a very relaxed, low-key. It kind of feels like you're just kind of sliding into a hot tub. You know, you're going to feel relaxed. You may be a little bit more sociable, but some people, they kind of feel a little bit more cuddly with it, you know, more apt to public displays of affection. Nothing bonkers, but they become much more relaxed and just open and carefree. And that's basically the original stages of kava. Some places will actually give you the option of having a piece of fruit with it. Some places it's a pineapple, some places it's not. That's actually used for dual reasons. For one, it helps get the taste off your tongue because, like I said, kava has that very earthy taste that very few people actually enjoy. But what it actually also does is the act of chewing actually releases enzymes in your digestive system that will actually carry the kava throughout your bloodstream. So it actually kind of heightens and speeds up the process a little bit more. Generally speaking, when you first start out, you will kind of drink, you know, it's called a shell at a lot of places because they actually deliver it in a shell form, or in a like a salsa dip bowl is where most of the people actually deliver it in. But they call it a shell. So a lot of times when first starting out, people will drink, you know, a shell, you know, every 30 minutes or so. And that's when you hear of the people celebrating, a lot of times they'll shout "Bula," which is Tahitian for "to life." It's their form of cheers. Um, and the biggest proponent of it is whenever you're drinking a shell, you're never supposed to do it alone because it is supposed to be a social thing, a ceremonious thing. So I know when I was working at a kava bar for a long period of times, if someone came in and they were by themselves, it was proper that the person behind the bar also, even if it was just a small amount, because they couldn't drink too much, have too many people coming in drinking at one at a time, still doing the ceremony with them, still raising it in the air, saying bula, and then drinking it down, to add that effect, that community ceremonious feel to it. But that's primarily what you're expected to experience at a kava bar. Drinking it out on your own at home, which is what I've had to do, because while it is very social and ceremonious, it also has a lot of amazing benefits for your health, both mentally and physically.
Well, you said mentally, not to cut you off again, but I think it's really interesting that it slows down the neurodivergent process.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could.
It could.
It possibly could.
Yes. It promotes the slowing down of the process, yes.
That's
The
really
neurodegenerative
wild.
process.
I didn't really think about that.
Yeah. It does that, but it also, like I said, it is amazing for me, with someone that has very, very, very intense anxiety and depression. It evens you out. It kind of brings you into a homeostasis. So it's never going to make you feel amazing. You're not going to drink, kava and run around slapping people high fives. But what it does is it evens you out. If you start feeling a panic attack coming on, it settles you down a little bit. If you start feeling yourself kind of dipping into a depressive stage, it kind of brings you up a little bit. So it kind of brings you back into a homeostasis. One of the biggest things on a physical aspect is it does promote a healthy blood pressure. So not that I'm stating that you should go off of any kind of pharmaceuticals that you may be on for blood pressure, but I do know that when I was working at a kava bar, we did have a few people that if they forgot to take their blood pressure medicine that day and started feeling the symptoms of a blood pressure spike, they were able to drink kava and it would bring it back down long enough for them to be able to get back home and get their medication. So, a lot of amazing benefits that haven't even fully been researched properly. So I'm sure we're going to start seeing a lot more once it becomes a little bit more widespread. Like I said, this is
it's becoming pretty widespread. I'm seeing it everywhere, and now I'm
we're
seeing
starting
it in
to,
drinks
but after how
and
long?
tonics and gummies, which you did mention in your Father's Day.
In my Father's Day is the
gift guide on our Your Highness Media Substack, by the way.
Yeah.
If you aren't subscribe to our Your Highness Media Substack, because we go into a lot of different things on there. One of the things was a gift guide that we had, and you included kava gummies.
Are you looking for a better way to offer cashless payments and increase customer loyalty at your dispensary? Meet Spender. Spender not only provides reliable, secure cashless payments, but also highlights your deals to recent shoppers to ensure they keep coming back for more. Your customers will love paying for free with their phones and earning Spender-funded rewards. Plus, you'll enjoy the risk-free 90-day money-back guarantee with no long-term contracts. Spender seamlessly integrates with your existing dispensary tablets through our browser-based merchant platform. No new hardware to install. Spender is also non-exclusive, so you can offer it alongside other payment methods to give your customers more ways to pay and earn rewards. Join over 50 dispensaries already using Spender. Getting started is easy, and it takes just a few days, not months. No more fees, no more ATM lines, just rewards for buying their favorite products. Ready to join? Visit spender.com/business to learn more. That's SPENDR.com/business.
So, on that note, I know you touched on it earlier, but before we forget, let's talk about that, because not just in kava bars, but out there in the world, on the internet, and online, there are a lot of combinations with Kava,
Hmm?
specifically kratom. And that is something, while we are very big kratom proponents, I am very weary of.
I don't like mixing the two because I like to know what is helping me with what, so that I can go back to that to help me with that one thing. So when I was talking earlier about a lot of times kava bars adding stimulants and additives to their drink, primarily what I was talking about was kratom. In most cases, a kratom extract that would be used because that's something that you're going to feel immediately. Kratom offers that.
That will make you feel like you're flying high.
Yeah, that
great
gives
and
a very euphoric sensation. It's a much more energized, much more sociable than kava. Kava is much more subdued and relaxed. So I don't like mixing the two because, for one, I use the two for two completely different things. So just because I need one doesn't mean I need both. A lot of times when I'm consuming kava, it is going to be a little bit closer to night. And the last thing I want to do is have that stimulation from kratom at night. A lot of times I'm also using it because I'm having a lot of anxious panic attacks. And while kratom itself can also help alleviate that because of that euphoric feeling, a lot of the times I don't necessarily desire that euphoric feeling. I just want to calm myself down.
That was the biggest takeaway for me when we first began using it, because at the time I was taking valerian root by like the handful.
Yeah. And you just want to calm down. Now, one thing that I do want to mention, because we are talking a lot about kava and mixing kava with other things, is alcohol. You do not ever want to consume alcohol and kava at the same time.
Ever.
For one, it will absolutely wreak havoc on your liver. So what will happen is, if you consume both at the same time, your liver will only actually filter through one of the two substances. And what will happen is the other one will continue to recycle through your body over and over again. So it will make you sick, it'll make you nauseous, and you'll end up throwing up. But it also puts way too much of a strain on your liver itself. Kava itself, when you consume the root in its whole form, like if I was just to eat the root, it doesn't process very well through the liver. You really need to have it in a form that's able to process it. That's why the liquid is so popular. If you're eating it through gummies or through chocolates, I've seen chocolates, you want to make sure it's kava that's been extracted and that you're not actually just eating the full root itself, because that can be taxing on the liver in and of itself. But 100% you do not want to ever consume alcohol and kava at the same time. And you also want to be wary of, if you're drinking a lot of kava, it can actually be drying to the skin. So you want to make sure that you stay moisturized and hydrated. A lot of people will drink, water while they're drinking kava to make sure that they stay hydrated. Otherwise, you could get small patches of dry skin, which is a bummer. It's not the end of the world, but it's definitely not something that you want happening on a regular basis. But as long as you stay hydrated while you're drinking kava and you moisturize.
So don't use kava soap, which is a thing I've seen. No offense to anyone making kava soap, but that doesn't make sense.
No, well, a lot of people, they've used it, especially for their face, for acne, because it dries them out.
Well, I guess it could work for that.
Yeah, but you don't necessarily want to just have dry skin.
That's
so
true.
that may be like a step one of a process, but you never want to one and done it. I've known people that have just basically rubbed kava on their face, kava root after it's soaked in water, and just rub it on their face and let it sit there and then wash it off, which will eliminate acne, but it also dries your skin out
and your skin
much.
layer.
Yeah, you definitely do not want to do that. I've done it as jokes back when they did the ice plunge challenge. I had kava poured on me. That was like our version of it, and you feel almost instantaneously dried out, like every moisture cell of your body has just been completely leached out.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so definitely
I need all the moisture I can get. I'm too old for that noise.
So if you are going to use it on a topical basis, that really needs to be a step one of a process, and not just a one and done thing, because it can be very drying.
Absolutely. I remember when we were drinking it pretty regularly, or at least I was. I don't anymore. I can't handle it anymore.
I drink it a lot, but it does, and even still, I have to make sure that I always carry a lip balm with me. With the Healing Rose has an amazing lip balm that
Shout out.
I've gotten very accustomed to
Yes.
because
Healing Rose is amazing.
yeah,
All their products.
just drinking the kava, it's nothing major, but you definitely do feel your lips dry a little bit, So having, a lip balm like that Healing Rose lip balm or anything that's not just mass produced, can really help and be beneficial. And I feel like we're kind of going over a lot of like, oh, this is some scary stuff about kava, but trust me, it's an amazing plant.
And there are some really easy ways to like get into it slowly. Like there's kava tea now that you can get, in tea bag form. There's capsules. There are, like we said, drinks that are already pre-made. JR does it like the rough kind of way I can't handle with making it actually, he drinks it without any kind of flavoring or anything, and I cannot.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's ways that you can actually take the flavor down. If you use like a half and half cream and some caramel, coconut is also a great taste stabilizer for kava to help bring it down a little bit so it doesn't have as strong of a taste.
And there are complementary herbs that you could use with it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
If you do some research, maybe marshmallow root or something.
Maybe marshmallow
or
root,
vanilla.
but I just like drinking it, just drinking the root as the root.
He doesn't have an issue with gross tasting things.
No, it is. I didn't even do the pineapple because I do not like pineapple.
No.
One day or one night in college, I drank a lot of vodka and pineapple juice and threw up everywhere. And ever since then, I have been very not great with pineapple. So I would always be like, I don't want the pineapple. So because of that, I just got very accustomed to that very earthy taste. I knew how to make it so that it tastes well for other people. But for me, it was always just easier. I'm also someone that just likes to just do it as soon as possible. Maybe it's my neurodivergence. I don't know. I don't like spending a lot of time preparing things. So it was just easier for me just to drink it just as a very quick, we're doing this, and then allowing the sensation to kick in. But that taste, it's
intense.
It's earthy.
I mean, like you just said, there are ways to mask it,
Yeah.
and we like a lot of things that don't taste great.
Yeah.
That are really good for you.
Now, keep in mind, if you do get things like gummies and chocolates, a lot of times those flavor profiles are not enough to actually mask it. So you're still going to have that taste.
Right.
It's a very hard taste, especially the aftertaste, to fully get rid of.
The aftertaste.
So the only reason I bring this up is because I don't want you to purchase an edible form of kava and then have it still tasting that and then you thinking that it's bad. Because that's not the case. It's very, very difficult to fully mask it, and it's almost impossible to mask it in an edible form, in a non-liquid form. So definitely, if you are for your first time thinking, I want to try the chocolates first before I try drinking it, do know that it's not going to taste great no matter how much they try to mask it, because it's almost impossible to mask that flavor on an edible form.
Yeah, but again, it's all relative.
It's all relative.
You might think I think it's disgusting. Someone else might think it tastes good. I don't know. So I don't know. But we do recommend it, right?
Yeah. Like I said, it has been easily one of the top forms of plant medicine in my life to help keep me going on a day-to-day basis. I discovered it in a very weird time of my life, and for both of us in Florida, and it helped me tremendously in my life and helped me grow my own views on plant medicine. And as time goes on, it's been a mainstay. It's been the one thing that's really helped me a lot when it comes to my anxiety and depressive states. And it's something that I drink on a daily basis, and it does great. And like I said,
it does great.
It does great.
All right, I'm going to cut you off here because I feel like we're
no, because it does, because it keeps you with that clear head. So it's not like I'm drinking it and then like just like being like unpresent for the rest of my night at home. I can drink it and relax and still be completely present, completely there. It's not like other forms of plant medicine where you have to worry about kind of losing focus on what you're supposed to be doing. You can drink it in the middle of the day.
If not taken intentionally.
Exactly. And a lot of people, they use it to study because it helps them relax their nerves from a test that's coming up, but they're able to maintain that focal clarity. So they're able to retain the knowledge that they're getting from studying and relaxing the anxiety of having to take a test. So a lot of people have actually found a great benefit on things like studying and stuff like that.
Well, I'm glad that it's helped you out so much. So before we end, speaking of plant medicine, we have another podcast called Your Highness Podcast, and we talk about cannabis on that, but we don't really get into the plant itself so much. But one podcast that does, that I highly recommend, is called How to Do the Pot. How to Do the Pot is an award-winning cannabis podcast sharing joyful stories and useful advice about cannabis for health, well-being, and fun, especially for needs specific to women. This show covers everything from the best weed for sex to how weed is helping women with cramps and with menopause. How to Do the Pot's Essential Strains series will help you find your favorites, including why women love strains like Harlequin or Gelato. You'll hear women across the country share stories about their first time buying legal weed and learn how they talk about cannabis with their families. How to Do the Pot is hosted by Ellen Scanlon, whose mission is to inspire women to make more informed choices about their health and well-being. Join Ellen as she talks to medical professionals for practical tips, experts for cannabis recommendations, and listeners for funny and intimate stories. And I will have a link to this podcast in our show notes, so be sure to check out How to Do the Pot, and be sure to check out our Substack, which I'll also link in our podcast notes, because we will have a podcast recommendation post coming up soon, so you don't want to miss that. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me again today.
Thank you for having me.
This podcast has been a product of Your Highness Media. Each episode is written, produced, and edited by Your Highness Media. Thank you for listening.